Can see the screen. You can see that it is September 14th. Um, yeah, maybe Todd and I both need an extra cup of coffee. Wow. Todd, I think we're multitasking too many things today. Anyway, welcome. I'm glad you guys are back. Today's already this morning, there's been some crazy news, some crazy movement in the market, some crazy reactions, some fast movements, some retracements. It's one of those mornings when you look at the charts, there are probably a lot of people that lost money this morning. And the reason why I say that, again, well, I'm going to show you these charts in a few minutes here. There's been a lot of whipsaws back and forth. And overall, it's had one direction. But I'll tell you right now, the way that the average retail trader, when they have means and strategies that are not limiting their risk, i.e., whether no stop losses or stop losses that are way too close. Markets like today are very dangerous for the average trader. And again, it's one of the reasons why I'm thankful with Nadex that we have these. Basically, you know what your maximum risk is going in, and today is the perfect day of why you would want that. So we'll cover that in a sec. Anyway, for those of you that are new here, just so you guys know who I am. I own a company called Keep Trading Simple. I typically, my mission is really to take what I'd say the infusing aspects of trading out of the markets and just kind of keep it basic, right? You hear absolute greats like Vincent Lombardi, starting off every football season the same way of, gentlemen, this is a football. I believe in using the basics and not using tools that you don't need. When you guys see my charts, you'll notice that they're a little bit different, right, than what you may see, with other, I don't want to say educators, but other analysts, right? I don't use a lot of indicators. You guys will see there's a lot of horizontal triangles or horizontal rectangles. I'll use some triangles here and there. I'm a price action trader, so I'm looking and reading the candles, the way they're formed, how they open, close, their movement, the open, close, high and lows of every bar. And again, looking to see where traders are buying and selling. As a caveat, before I jump into the official kind of disclaimers, I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I did, right? But I don't have a crystal ball here that is going to tell me what's going to happen later on today or tomorrow or yesterday or next week. But, again, what I do is I'm a very, very big believer about stacking the odds in your favor. In everything in life, stacking the odds in your favor. There's large industries that do nothing but stack the odds in their favor, and that's why they keep winning and winning and winning and winning. And again, as a retail trader, we can do the same thing, and that's what I try to focus on. So every week, I want you guys to get one golden nugget from this. Get something that you didn't know whether know before, or a new way to look at things, or just something that you look at and go, aha. Get that light bulb going off. That's why I do these every week. I've been working with Nadex now for, I want to say, time obviously flies. I want to say it's like 3 going on 4 years now. I've written articles, but I really love connecting with you guys. So again, if you have questions, don't hesitate to type it into the chat. For those of you that know, next Tuesday, we actually have another one of our education summits. And I'm taking a big leap here. I'm taking a real big leap. You guys know that I typically like to give you guys different tools, or I gave a newsletter away. I'm giving away something next week that maybe I regret in the future. But it's kind of, I always ask myself, how can I make the biggest impact in people's trading? So next Tuesday, I'm actually giving something away that is new. We haven't done it before in the past. It's something that we're trying. I'm not going to tell you what it is today, so you're going to have to attend next week. But I am on first next week. So next week, instead of us being on or me being on from 12 to 1 p.m., I'm actually going to lead the entire event off from 11 to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you guys are around, get in there, figure out what I'm going to give away. I think it's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about it, actually. There is some hesitation that it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a bit much, but I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to, like I said, I do this because I want to help people. And I feel like this is going to give me the ability to help people better than I ever have before. So I got like goosebumps talking about it. Anyway. With that said, let me go through the Nadex risk disclaimer that trading on Nadex involves risk and may not be appropriate for all. Members risk losing the cost at the end of the transaction, including the fees. You should carefully consider whether trading on Nadex is appropriate for you in light of your investment experience and financial resources. Any trading decisions that you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results, and none of the material presented herein is to be construed as a solicitation, recommendation, or offer to buy or sell any financial instrument on Nadex or elsewhere. Nadex is subject to U.S. regulatory oversight by the CFTC, and Nadex is a registered trademark of the IG Group. All right. With that said, I see comments blasting and questions. Oh, that's Todd. Like, wait a second. Who's that? So we'll go from there. Heidi, I can see you said that the sound is going in and out mostly. It looks like it's stable on my screen, but I know sometimes you have to kind of refresh the browser and it tends to work better. I do have a sound thing that's showing me that it is good, and the microphone is pretty close. So I'm kind of hoping it's not too loud. But yeah, a lot of times if you go out and come back in, it tends to work a little bit better for you. With that said, let's just jump into kind of the first piece. So, all right, agenda for today. If you guys know, if you've been here, first things first, we're going to cover upcoming news events. I can say this with a high level of certainty. 99.9% of all of the movement we're seeing right now, particularly in the indices, all ties back to the CPI from this morning. Okay. The CPI was such a big amount of data. It's important. It dominates the news almost nonstop right now. Every time we read an article or you hear something, if you're a CNBC watcher, 99.9% of everything we talk about right now is one of two things: inflation or COVID. And again, it's inflation related to COVID. Okay. Today, we got the inflation aspect of that, seeing kind of where we are and where the recovery is. And that's controlling everything right now. So first things first, after we cover not only the news this morning, but all of the news for the rest of the week, then we'll dive into indices. We'll see where they're at. There was actually some amazing setups. Earlier this morning, I talked about that there was going to be reversal opportunity. I was hoping we'd be able to wait longer, but unfortunately, it went right off right after we got off air at 9 o'clock. Those reversals jumped in very, very fast. So there's some great trading opportunity. Then we'll cover Forex. Obviously, CPI is extremely important. Reason why is CPI is related to inflation. The way you control inflation is you raise the interest rates of the dollar. Well, the dollar is involved in pretty much every currency decision out there. So there has been a lot of movement. Now, currencies is also extremely important this week. Extremely. Why? Because basically every country out there this week has some type of CPI news. And as COVID recovery is happening, right, countries are going to have to start controlling the inflation because everybody's in kind of a supportive environment right now. They're going to have to start tapering, start raising interest rates. Well, the first gauge of when that's happening is CPI. So there is a lot of movement this week with a lot of news releases for CPI. So currencies is definitely a big player. And then there's commodities. We typically talk about the big three. We talk about oil. Oil's a little bit in play today. We've had some decent movement, but again, staying CPI the way that it is, again, when it's really a demand-driven story. Next week for the Education Summit, the main topic I am talking about is trading commodities, basically gold. I'm sorry, not gold. Trading oil and natural gas. We're going to talk about kind of where we are with them globally right now. Some of the forecasts have been extremely interesting. Seeing how they thought we were going to be, the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, seeing what the data was this time last year versus what it is right now, what the projections are into 2022. So we're going to cover those. And again, we're going to talk about the news events that happen every single week, the inventory reports, and I'm going to give you guys a strategy on how to trade it next week. So it's the strategy that we talk about, but I'm going to give you guys the rules. I figure I've been talking about it enough during these presentations the last couple months, and I started talking about these inventory setups. It's really it's a new strategy that works with everything, but it particularly works well with the inventory reports. I'm going to give you guys that next week. So hopefully you guys can bump this ahead an hour earlier. All of you can attend next week. And again, you're going to get the strategy. I'm going to show you and give you the rules on it. All right. Nothing needed to buy. Just show up, watch it, take a lot of notes. And, again, if you want some, if you have questions after the fact, we can deal with that as we go. All right. So that's it for today. So let's go across and let's go right into, where is it? Right there. Let's go into what the news is. So today, as I mentioned, CPI, it's a gauge of inflation, right? Two things about this. One, you guys have heard me rant for weeks, right? Weeks at this point about transitory and what it actually means. I looked it up on Webster's dictionary. I showed you guys. Transitory in the entire rest of the world basically means that something comes and then something goes. Kind of like a wave, right? A wave crashes on the beach, it comes high, and then it retreats and goes backwards, okay? What we've seen with inflation is it positive, 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 more positive, more positive, more positive, more positive, and more positive. So the wave is still pushing in. It is slowing down, but I really don't know that inflation is going to go backwards. That's not something we really see that often, right? It's kind of one of those things. Like, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm old. I'm 45 years old, right? I don't remember when bread was 25 cents, but my mom loves to remind like, oh, when I was a kid, a loaf of bread was 25 cents. I don't care how much inflation they say is transitory. It's never going back to 25 cents. It's just not going to happen, right? That ship has sailed. It's never going back that way. But what I do know is transitory means it comes and it goes. Positive a million times in a row is a lot farther ahead than if everyone went backwards. So here it is. CPI down. PPI last week was up. So this is one of those figures that it's kind of like, this doesn't match what we saw from the producers and what the price of the products coming out the other end were. Is this a kind of weird reading? Is there going to be an adjustment next time, or is this really what it is? Tonight, we have Chinese data. Now, we don't really have a lot of things that we trade Chinese-wise, but Chinese retail sales year over year is kind of important. When you look at the previous, it was showing that the year-over-year growth was 8.5%. The forecast is only 6.9. We know that there's been if anybody's out there right now, you hear about supply chain issues and being unable to get products. I was told you guys know that I coach for my son's actually the commissioner for my son's lacrosse kind of organization, and I'm responsible for ordering the uniforms. And I ordered the uniforms the other day, and the supplier said, yeah, he's like, normally, once we get them, it takes about 2 days getting the uniforms back from the people that produce them for us. It takes about 2 days normally. He goes, in August, we actually had one that took 11 days because of it got held up in the supply chain and the shipping is all screwed up now. And getting on the right truck it's unreal. I figured, if they're built, yes, I'm going to get them quick. And he said 2 days to 11 days, quite a bit different right now. So again, supply chain issues, that'll be affecting China. And on the other side too, remember, retail sales is one aspect of it, but there are people that buy from China as well. How much of an effect has COVID had? Is it true that in 1 year, remember this time last year, we were in a pretty bad place, right, with COVID, right? If they're still, if their sales are increasing 6.9%, how much did it really slow us down? Which is kind of an interesting question. So that's an important one. And then tomorrow, extremely busy day, right? What I tell you, everybody's got CPI. The pound, the UK, CPI year over year. So it's forecast to come in at 2.9%. Why this is important, okay, is typically all the other feds in the world, right? There's a central bank everywhere, right? Typically, 2% is the target where they like to have their CPI at, right? Inflation, right? The gauge of inflation, they want things up 2% a year. 2.9 is significantly higher than 2, right? Almost 1.5 times as high, right? This could definitely lead off the UK session with a bang, okay? Particularly for the pound. Pound yen, again, while it hasn't been a mover recently, this thing comes off crazy. Pound yen could absolutely, just because it's been like a sleeping dragon, right? It hasn't done anything lately. And if I was writing articles right now, I would absolutely talk about how tomorrow could be the wake up of the sleeping dragon, because its ATR has really, really dropped in the last coming months. It's down to like 78, right? It used to be 120. CPI is one of those figures, because once they start talking about this thing getting out of control and having to raise interest rates to control it, man, off to the races for the pound. Then at 8:30 tomorrow morning, bam, Canadian CPI month over month. Now it's expected to be low, right? And again, 0.1, but that means it has a lot of ability to miss things, right? So we have our neighbors to the north, and then we have our industrial production. We have crude oil inventories, and again, the forecast. Look at this. Last time the forecast was supposed to be 5.9, came in much lower. Now they've lowered it down a bit. We'll see. Again, we're getting some of the hurricane and tropical storm kind of effects over here in crude oil. 645, we go quarter over quarter in New Zealand. Now, remember, New Zealand has already said that they were going to raise interest rates, right? They were supposed to do it last month, but because of a communications issue, they weren't. And then there was talk that they were going to do kind of a double to 0.5, right? Seeing a GDP, if this GDP is even higher, there could be a lot of movement in the New Zealand dollar or the New Zealand yen. Now, we can't trade those at Nadex, but again, a lot of what happens in New Zealand also carries over into Australia. Now, this is surprising. Australia tomorrow night, right? Again, you guys know I absolutely love my 9:30 p.m. Australian data news, right? By far, hands down, you guys know that meme where there's the guy sitting at the table with the coffee and like it's like a college campus and you write different things on the piece of paper, like to change my mind. Absolutely, hands down, best releases of the entire night, 9:30 p.m. in Australia. Absolutely the best. I'm drinking my coffee right now. And I actually was drinking my coffee. Hands down, changed my mind. low volume, easy movement. We have short duration Nadex binary contracts. We have call spreads up there. We have knockouts in there. A lot of different ways to play it. The spreads are smaller because it's not considered a high volatile time. Yet it's an extremely important news release. So again, I'm not going to drink my coffee again because I just had some, but changed my mind. Interestingly enough about this one, as I do follow this every day, originally they expected an increase to 4.8, and then it creeped up to 4.9, and now it's at 5.0. 5.0. And losing jobs. Now, I expected the job loss. The reason why is because they did lock down for 10 days last month. 4 of the major 8 cities, because again, they had, it was 11 cases of COVID in one of the provinces. So they shut, 4 of the major cities, right? 11 cases, right? Yeah. But the unemployment rate jumping from 4.6 to 5.0, it's getting more negative, more negative, more negative. If this becomes even more negative, right? I mean, are they getting overly pessimistic? I mean, depending on who you talk to, I mean, Delta's going to end the human, the human race, right? I don't know if this comes back in a 4.8. Do you think there's going to be an adjustment with the Aussie dollar? Absolutely. Is the dollar there to mess that one up? No, there's no conflicting data. It's not like, the CAD where we have CAD data and US. This stands to be an amazing opportunity, right? Amazing opportunity. So again, definitely a big one for tomorrow. And then we have Thursday. Thursday, we have retail sales and core retail sales. Now, they're supposed to be both negative, right? They're a little bit lower than they were before, but are we being overly pessimistic? I mean, hasn't really affected this that much. And when we see manufacturing orders, again, manufacturing is still doing pretty well. We're still seeing like all-time highs in the markets. I mean, really the major concern right now is more the unknown, right? Is COVID going to affect the kids in school? And, interestingly enough, I mean, on that front, I don't know if you guys saw it or not. There was an article written yesterday that the World Health Organization is against a third vaccine, and that the U.S. may be getting a little bit ahead of itself. And there was 2 U.S. Doctors on that panel. Thought that was pretty interesting, right? All the cases right now are being driven by just the unvaccinated, which again, when we looked at the age groups, was only about 7% of some of the most at-risk populations, right? Like 93% of people were already vaccinated in that realm. Now we hear about breakthroughs, and actually there were some articles down there about breakthroughs as well. But again, retail sales is important. This is like the back to school number. I know as a parent of 2 kids that are in school, it was like nearly impossible to find school supplies for them. Okay. I like the Target to buy school supplies down the street. Guess what? Target had nothing. I had to Amazon Prime that stuff. And I'll tell you right now, man, some of that stuff gets expensive. So it's expected to be lower, but I don't think it's going to be absolutely horrible. And maybe it is. I don't know, But again, retail sales is one of the big 5 news releases that happen, right? And then we have manufacturing. Then we have the unemployment claims. Now, unemployment claims, these have been kind of funky. They're not as volatile as the API numbers. We've been kind of holding steady. Last time it was good, though, right? We expected 430 or 340. We went down to 310. That was a nice little jump down, but they had the revision higher. This one, they're kind of splitting the difference. They're like, all right, it was, 340, came in at 310. Let's split it right down the middle. We'll go 325. So, yeah, is there a way that we could miss? Sure. So, I mean, again, imagine this. Imagine this number jumps back up to 340, which means it's higher than unexpected. And again, let's say that this one comes in at, 0.8. Could this control the indices on Thursday, giving us a really negative outlook? Could Thursday be a real negative day? Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. And again, maybe it comes back. Maybe this is only 285 and both of these are positive for retail sales. Guess what? All 4 indices will end up in the green. Okay. Now, Friday. Friday is a little anemic after everything we saw early in the week, right? We have retail sales, again, extremely important number. The pound is showing positive yet again. It was negative last time, 2 a.m. early. And then we have University of Michigan consumer sentiment. This is a preliminary number. Now, it is supposed to go higher, okay? I feel like this could potentially be a miss. When we've looked at other consumer sentiment numbers in the last 2 or 3 weeks, they have been more on the negative side. Now, we did have quite a big drop. I think it was last time. Yeah, we had the big drop last time. Remember, it was supposed to be 81, came in at 70. I'm wondering if this was maybe a little bit kind of overdone. That's kind of a big jump. I mean, you can see, this one moved 4 and this one moved like 7. So, it can miss. But the fact that they're, having this one come in and it kind of almost comes in right at the same amount, I feel like this could be a miss. Okay. Um, the reason I'm bringing this up is because I mean, again, I don't have a crystal ball. I have no idea. But the way the numbers are looking, and if we kind of look at other things out there, if Thursday turns into a red negative day, I'm always looking for that feel good Friday, right? If retail sales in the UK look great and consumer sentiment goes back up, like what if this was just a weird blip, right? What if it goes back up or this adjusts to like maybe 73 and this one comes in at 80, right? Based off of, again, this is only 500 consumers, but what if it comes in back at 80? If we just had a negative day that was all that negativity and selling and then we come in as a positive day, could we have a feel good Friday? Absolutely. And that's typically how the week likes to end. The week actually prefers that one. If we end up, on a high, right? Not to say that it can't go really, really bad. I mean, what if it comes in at 60? It's a weekend. Let's get out of here, right? That's how it works. So it is what it is, So right now, let's go over to the charts. And again, I always like to, guys, I love to start my analysis looking at the scanner, kind of seeing what's in motion right now. And a lot of things are kind of retracing. Again, we're seeing more or less dollar weakness, although it's starting to slow down a little bit. Dollar Swiss, we talked about that earlier in the week. Dollar CAD, you can see right now it's retracing back again. Aussie dollar, again, the dollar had that spike and now it's getting weak. Euro pound has a great setup that's coming up, and then pound yen 23 is like I said, I feel like it's the sleeping dragon right now. It's not quite as powerful as it needs to be. All right, so let's talk about the ES. All right, let me get my little news icon here. So here is the 8:30 news right there. If you attended this morning, we were going up to about in this area, and this is where we were talking about it. What I mentioned earlier is I was expecting somewhat of a retracement. Now, the news today is technically, it's very, very hard right now. The news this morning is technically good for the indices. The reason why is because it slows down the need to having to taper, which should be positive. But at the same time, it's actually negative news. If there wasn't COVID right now, it would actually be bad, where it's showing, oh my God, we're losing, inflation is actually considered good to some nature. Here's your retrace. So again, the way that we play the indices in the morning is 15-minute charts, okay? If you're not accustomed, and I haven't got one in a little while, I occasionally get this question of what time frames are the best to look at, right? I would say probably 2 times a month I get an email saying, hey, what's the best time frame to look at? I love to do analysis, but I don't know what time frame is best. Like, I feel like a lot of people are wondering that. Some people don't ask it, and then like I do mentoring sessions with them and like, what time frame should I look at? What is the best, right? In my opinion, and my name is not Warren Buffett Jr., but in my opinion, okay, when we look at the indices, because most of their movement is so kind of crammed into a specific area, I really like the 15-minute charts. Okay, I like the 15-minute charts because I feel like they keep us in a low risk period. We can see small amounts of candles, and we can take advantage of a lot of the moves. Now, as you can see, we had that 8:30 news release, and magically, look at that. It was kind of bouncing off if we look at just what happened right before that, it was 1.5 points off of the 45,000 number, which, and again, it's an area that we've kind of talked about in the past, right? It exploded high. Now, if you've attended webinars in the past, this is what's called a parabolic move, right? We are looking for a parabolic retracement. Well, this is a pretty clean zone, right? It came up and based in one candle. This is the 9:30 open, so we know that this was a zone generated by a lot of power, right? What do I mean by a lot of power? Very simply, at 9:30, all the retail traders, everybody and their brother is getting into trading, right? It's like 9:30, bam, off to the races. So there's a huge influx in that first 5 to 10 minutes, right? If you look at the trading volume for the day, well, I forget what the percentage is. It's like high 90s. Like that, most of it happens in the first 20 and the last 20 minutes of the day. I forget what it is. I know it's like 87% of all the total volume occurs in like the first. I think maybe it's like 87% in the first half hour and last half hour. No, you know what? I think it's 90, like high mid 90s. And then they said in the last like 10 minutes, like 20% of the total volume for the day happens in like the last 10 minutes, right? Something crazy. But again, pretty standard parabolic retracement move. We came back down 4,550 was really kind of the magical number. And it's an area. I mean, we drove a little bit lower. And again, this is kind of that we're under 45, people start, 44.50. People start worrying about that. And what happens is, again, we had the retracement 9:30. It shot straight down. We had some profit taking. It went a little bit lower. And this is that, oh, please just come back. I promise I'll never do this again trade. where again, we're starting to push higher. We're exactly where we were when we started the news this morning. Now, today's news, again, it can be taken as a positive factor, but at the same time, it is kind of a, if it wasn't for COVID, this is more of a negative based number. I would say overall today, with lack of any other news, it should be positive. And right now, I would say nothing that we've seen this morning should really be considered super negative. But obviously, it's a very, very easy kind of target to kind of attack, traders. And again, I mention this every week. 12:30 in the afternoon in the indices is not really the ideal time where you want to be looking for trade setups. A majority of the action has already happened. If you guys are wondering what time this reversed, I talk about common reversal times. The red candle, actually, the red candle is the 10:30 candle. Do you see basically where the bottom is? Where this more or less between 10:30 and 10:45 this morning was the low and was the reversal. So it's really playing that first 9:30 to 10:30 time frame, because at 10:30 again is where we see a lot of those reversals come in. So again, easy setup, 15-minute, do the same thing. I would say watch out for this level. This could come back in play tomorrow at 44.78. Another big level to watch out for. Again, right now we're flirting with the 44.50. Right? 44.25 will be another level. So again, I would watch for any type of a push down and a potential basing and bounce off of that. And again, it could be in play for tomorrow if they just want to kind of take this one negative down, right? Now, NQ is another one. Now, NQ came up to a level where, again, it came up to the same thing. It was a 9:30. This one was really, this one would have been easier to grab for, some people out there. It wasn't the 8:30 spike that did it. It was the pullback and next push opening right where we saw sellers. Now, again, here's, the way you would draw this. Whoops. Would be right there, right? We're looking at the candle behind. Sometimes you would have done that, in which case you would have missed it by just a little tiny bit, right? But overall, again, this is just education. The trade's already happened for the day. What did it do? It started the morning off at what? 15,400. Double zeros, right? You can see how it based here, it based here, it based here, right? And it also bounced off of it yet again at 10:30 is when it started, 10:45 is where it turned. Now, could you have traded the opposite side of this for the news? The answer is yes. If you've attended sessions in the past, I mentioned that the best time to trade these things are what? News and session open. Here was your news, all right? There's your 8:30 news right there. And here is your session open right there. Right? There is your 9:30 candle. And then I had one for it. I don't know. I guess it is. I'll have to come up with a good one for this one, but I'm going to use, I guess I'll use this one right now. There's your 10:30 reversal. Can I turn this? There we go. Right? There's your 10:30 reversal. So here's a perfect example of the 3 best times to trade. Because again, those are the questions I could ask. What time frames should I look at to analyze charts, and what are the best times to trade? Like if you guys do me a favor. So I know that everybody's listening right now. If you guys know where the chat feature is, I want you guys to self-identify yourself. If you have ever asked, not me, but just in general, what is the best time frame to do my analysis on, and what are the best times to trade? Just type a yes or like an I inside of chat. I'm curious to see how many people will admit that they have ever asked. I've asked these questions. When I first started, I used to ask those questions all the time. What's the best time to trade? If you ever ask those, type those in chat for me so I know that you guys are paying attention. But this is it. 1, 2, and 3 right here. Perfect example of what's going to happen. Now, the way that the NQ looks right now, I would say, it's at 12:30. It's going to put a cap in. It didn't kind of test the same sellers up top. It looks like it wants to roll back down again. And remember, 15,400 is kind of an area where we have that double zero, prices pulled back down. It should act as a magnet waiting for some of that news tomorrow. Okay, so just something to watch out for. I would say, again, the different ways you could have played it is, again, a pre-market, short duration binary contract high, looking for the reversal up here at, again, a level where we saw sellers step in the past that dropped this lower. And again, where would you have placed your target here? Obviously up top. Where would you replace your target in the short? Obviously going back to the origin of the move, which again, this is a parabolic retracement trade from here to there. There's your profit. Okay. And again, where would you expect a reversal to happen? Right here at the 10:30 time frame, right there. And maybe I need to find a clock. Is there a clock in here? Oh yeah. I'll just use the clock. That's perfect. Clock is our 10:30 reversal right there. So right there, bam, 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 all the way around. Now, YM. So, YM, unfortunately, this was a little bit more challenging. So, kind of the same thing. We talked about the news release being right here, right at 8:30, and you can look at this one, right? The market had already started to move in anticipation over the last, really since about what 7:45 was the bottom. At 8 o'clock, it already started to move. It popped, and this one had the peak at 8:30. It literally spiked up, and then had some problems. Now, I say this one is a little harder to get in because we know we had sellers at 35,000. We were kind of looking for a top, and it really started to kind of roll over on us really, really fast. And again, when we look at the actual market open in this one, the market open occurred right there. So again, actually it's this red candle right there. There's your market open. And again, and it failed to go any higher. If you look at this one on a really close basis, you can see that we kind of had this pattern, right? We had a high, a lower high, and then a lower high with a slight pullback in, right before the open, and then the collapse. And then at the same time, I'm going to use this, and the reversal right here is 10:30 in the morning. So again, kind of the same thinking, right? Pre-news short duration binary contract, parabolic move. Now this one, same setup, but obviously a little bit harder. You can see that there was kind of if I dropped it down to a 5-minute for a really good entry, you can see the same thing we talk about, right? I will move this down. Whoops, I'll need that in a second, actually. Let's put this down here. You can see the look, lower descending highs. You would have put your box right here. And right there is the 9:30 candle. So what did it do? It dropped. It based for a little tiny bit, right here. It pulled back up. Actually, I just do it this way. It pulled back up into the zone. It did not break out of the zone here, and then it dropped. And what is that called? I can't. It's unfortunately it's kind of locked in here. But what movie has this symbol in it? Oh, it's not gonna let me do it. Right? What symbol is this, guys? What kid has this on his forehead? Harry Potter. Right? Harry Potter right there. So again, another example of how to use that confirmation pattern inside of a smaller time frame after a parabolic move at the top. So again, YM had the same similar setup. Areas that we can go through in this one. I would say right now, it's going to run into some sellers in here. Overall, it looks like this one wants to stay more negative. Technically, YM is one of those things when you see data on inflation, selling, manufacturing, industry, whatsoever, the YM is the one that's most sensitive to it. This is the one right now that is showing really the most. It's actually, yeah, it's the one that's showing the most down. Now, the Russell is also affected by it, and Russell kind of had the same exact thing. You can look at 10:30. 10:30 was actually the bottom. It got super close. Look, it's right there. You can see it was right on top of the zone we drew earlier in the week. Kind of the same thing. You can see that 8:30 was right there. It had already started to move. And then we can see that right 9:30 is right there. So this one unfortunately didn't give us the same pullback. It had already started to take off in the other direction. But, yesterday, if you attended our session, we talked about how great would this be if we can break through this zone. It's had a bit of choppiness. We want price to go up. Like, we're looking for price to prepare for it to drop. And yesterday we talked about this market dropping. That's why we had drawn this. Now, did it drop? It kind of hit this level and fell back down again. So we never got the push up. But what happened as soon as the news came out? It spiked, dropped to a level that we talked about, and dropped back to the downside. So it was kind of one of those things. We're looking for that move. We were looking for a drop. It did it. Unfortunately, not the best opportunity. We couldn't take that big of advantage of it. So kind of all the same. But I would say overall, they look like they want to be on the more negative side. But on a fundamental basis, they should technically all be higher, which leads me to wonder, again, if we do not get an end-of-the-day rally today, will we have a green day in the indices tomorrow? All right, so let's dive over. Oh, I'm looking at this already. It's up another 1.7%. It's falling back. It's coming. It's coming. Let's cover currencies real quick. So currencies we've talked about at this point. Look how many times we've hit this level. It's been all over the place with this level. It's there. It's holding. It's just, it's just like, 7370 is like a magical number, right? And again, we shouldn't be on the 15-minute. We're kind of exaggerating a little bit too much. There we go. So it's been a level. We've hit it a few times. It's one of those levels you just don't want to take again. But it's kind of been the same thing. So this lower level down here, this is our target. It's been hit a number of times now. Here, based. I mean, it's pretty much smoked at this point, so we can't do much with it. I would say right now, as far as clean opportunity, I'm going to give you guys two levels in this one. And the reason why I'm going to give you two is because, again, the fresh level that we haven't hit yet is going to be 74.03. Okay, it is at right around that 74. Good number, tested, love the movement off of it. It's technically already hit this area once from this base, so it's confirmed one time. It's got one successful trade. We may have one more opportunity up top. The second level here, the 73.70. There is the original level, got front run here, hit and dropped, went to profit, hit and drop, went all the way down, got front run again, all the way down again. Now, again, this is a parabolic move. This one, I missed this trade. Could you have looked at this and said, well, wait a second, there's my area of basing the last time we had strong movement. There's my parabolic move straight up into it. The answer is yes. You absolutely could have taken advantage of that trade. I did not, in full transparency, so yeah. But you guys could have done it. There's your 1 to 3 back to the downside. And again, parabolic move into a smaller time frame, 30-minute level, looking for a reversal. The reversal happened right at the 9:30 candle. This red candle right here. Move this other way so you can see it. Red candle right here. You guys can double check on your platform. Red candle right there, 9:30 in the morning. The green candle hit that area. Short duration binary contract. Let's see. This one had a total movement of about what? 45 pips. Yeah, 45 pips. In let's see. If you did the 9 to 11, the 9 to 11 is there. It moved 45 pips to the downside. Okay. Why I get so excited about these and why you need to understand your products is go look at your Nadex contract specifications. Look at your 2-hour binary prices, right? 2-hour binary strike widths. Figure out how long it is and figure out how many Nadex binaries got blown through on the downside. Now, remember, this is where it comes into, are you taking it at the money, out of the money, in the money? Right? And out of the money binary contract back in this range about halfway, through the retracement, you may have paid, $18 to $20 for that one. When it closed out at 11 o'clock down here, 40 pips lower, that's a lot of strike prices down. Your $18 to $20 risk would have paid you out $100 on the back end. So that's why I get excited, and that's why you got to watch out for news. So I would say 73.70 still decent, 74.03 decent, 73.08 I also think is a level that, again, when we get there, it is getting back into the buying area of the curve. Like it, mark it, look for it later. All right, so once again, we had a level. We knew we had kind of an area of interest here, and we had hit here. We are waiting for some type of a breakthrough and a pullback, okay? It sliced through it. It didn't even give us any type of basing. So it was one of those levels that we were kind of prepared for it. It is pulling back now. And again, the way that the yen is looking today, there may be a potential entry in here. It's not as strong as if it had come down and based in the level first to give us a little bit of a confirmation. Remember, I love these Aussie trades. And, as I said, today, not so much, but the Australian data will affect, the Chinese data will affect this. You know why? China buys most of its natural resources and all resources from Australia. If retail sales numbers are good, it brings Australian currency strength in. Now, they do battle back and forth. They do complain about each other. China's like, hey, Australia's taking advantage of us. Yeah, there's some bickering back and forth, but at the end of the day, they still buy a lot of their stuff from Australia. If this number is good, again, that's giving us some potential. If it's bad and we pull back up in this area and the Chinese have bad numbers, don't be surprised if we take this and we bounce back to the downside, back into one of these lower levels, particularly the level that's down here at 80.06. Okay, so that's a level we're watching out for. But again, typically we would have liked them taking the short, not quite there. Now, Euro Pound. As you can see, Euro Pound, if you guys attended yesterday's session, we've talked about this level here at 85.12, and that original level was formed back on August 19th. So we've mentioned this level more than a few times when we talked about going through this hollow kind of area of interest. We talked about the speed up yesterday over the last 2 days. This is a level we've mentioned, guys. It's been there. It hit once. It dropped. Again, there was trade number 1 coming through there. Trade number 2 just hit it as well. So there's not much we can really do with it right now. It's had 2 trades pumping through, 1 to 3. Right now, for my channel traders out there, any channel traders know that, again, if we're looking at this as being kind of an area where, we really kind of have some tops and bottoms, right? Now, I'll change this to like a different color right there. If you're a channel trader, we are kind of set up in more of a short position. I actually like this short, and the reason why is because, again, tomorrow morning at 2 a.m., we have pound CPI. It's expected to be, 2.9% is great. That is every reason in the world to have taper go faster and raise interest rates. Raising interest rates in the pound brings a lot of pound strength in. We're sitting at the top side of the channel, and we now have a zone that has been touched. Where is it? 1, 2, 3 times. So again, 4 is the magical hit for a Harry Potter back to the downside. I think this one is setting up for a good potential short. But we got to see where it goes from now till then. If we hold up top, again, pre-news tomorrow, again, short duration binary contracts. They exist at that time frame. Great opportunity. Euro yen. Euro yen actually just bounced off a zone at 129.63. It's an area we've hit before, and again, it's already hit once and gone to full profit target. We do have at least 3 touches, so it's a little bit riskier of a zone. Actually, you can see here that this one has already had the required. There's your 1 hit. Really, you got to kind of count that one. But even if we don't count that one, there's your 2. There's your 3, and it is now pulled away. So this is not necessarily a zone we really want to trifle with. Could we go lower? Yeah, it's got a little bit to chunk through. And again, I think a lot of this one is really finding where the bottom will be. Okay. I like this because of this bottom, though. I like that there's 3 wicks here, and then it goes higher and then higher. That typically is a pretty good sign that you have some buyers sitting in that level. So this is one we should also watch out for tomorrow. Again, not a lot of European news, but there is some good opportunity there. So again, keep that on your radar. It may get busted out now. The European market is closed. This is purely a yen play at this point. But again, it's not really necessarily a zone that, because it has the 3 touches, it's not something I want to walk into. But I do love the fact that, again, this is a big push down from that news top to bottom. You're talking about 62 pips. That's a lot of movement in a 2-hour period of time. So, could you have traded this? And again, we talked about mark this level off. You can see at 8:30 this morning. Here's the news release. There's your news spike into a 30-minute level. Actually, it would be there. There's your 30-minute level. Could you have also used this with a shorter duration binary contract? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's your 8:30. If you had taken the 8, let's take 8 to 10. That is 53 pips in 2 hours. So again, a lot of potential shorter duration binary contract. Jump into euro dollar. So yeah, look at that. There's your 8:30 candle. Here's your news release. Yeah. And then on 9:30 occurred over here. So it looks very similar. 9:30 is right there. Actually, I'll put it, let's turn this a little bit, make it a little bit cleaner. Right there is your 9:30 candle. Right there. Yeah, this happens. If anybody has ever been frustrated when this happens to you, it gets close, right? We had a zone, 118.47. It's one we talked about. It missed it by 1.4 pips. Okay, 1.4 pips. There are currency firms out there that have the euro dollar at 1.1 to 1.4 pips spread. So it missed it by less than the spread in some situations. So yeah, you guys won't see me get frustrated often. Yeah, parabolic move, quick spike, 36 pips up in basically less than 5 minutes, less than 10 minutes. Yeah. And we missed the zone that quick. And you guys can see what the 1 to 3 looked like in that one and how much it went back down again. So yeah, do you think there would have been opportunity for the 8 o'clock candles here? A short duration contract in the euro dollar. Go look to see what the strike width is on that one and tell me how many strike prices this one moved. Again, this is why news is so important. It's why it's so exciting, but yet so many people still don't look at it. So again, I would say watch out for that 1847. It's probably decent. I'm not surprised that we had all the basing in here. On the downside, I think 117.74 is also a level to watch out for. All right. Now, pound yen. Sleeping giant. Look at this thing. 111 pips. So remember I talked about how this one just really hasn't moved. It's been kind of a sleeping giant. Like, the ATR, and here I'll even show it to you guys. Like, look at this. The ATR of this one. Let's shrink this so we can see it. Indicators. Let's throw where is it? ATR there. Slide this down so you guys can see it. Here's the ATR for this pair. Back here, the average of this one is 112 to 120 pips. The ATR this morning was down to, it actually broke through. It went to 79, but it's 81 pips right now as its average ATR. 81 pips an entire day is what the average is, down by like 30 or 40 pips, right? Let me move this back up. Let's delete this to the downside. Just this move, this is a 30-minute chart. This is 1, 2, hour and a half. 90 pips. So we moved over a daily ATR just because of the yen. Had nothing to do with the pound, just because of the yen. So tomorrow morning, could there be some absolutely amazing opportunity in the CPI year over year? Because 2.9 is a big number for the pound. Yes. Okay. And again, all we really did in 24 hours, look at this. In 24 hours, it's only moved 31 pips. You look at this, you're like, it's boring. There's nothing going on. But we've moved 90 something pips in an hour and a half back down to a simple level. So I can't tell you where to get in on this one right now. We are bouncing off of an area of buyers. There is some profit taking come in, but the yen is obviously a little bit more strong right now. So look for the ability for this one to kind of move tomorrow. What I would do is check this one out tonight. Look to see. This one may be one of those ones we look at call spreads. Okay, I know I don't say call spreads that often, but see where the Nadex contracts reprint after they, Nadex closes down for that hour. If we could find something, again, maybe if it's moving slow, see if you can grab like a really close to the, out of the money, or maybe just slightly at the money, or their ceiling or floor on a call spread, depending on if we've pushed up or down from now to then. If there's not that much premium there, could be a good option to look at. And again, if you guys have never played with call spreads, go into demo. If you don't have a demo, sign up for a demo. Check these out, okay? Pound dollar. Pound dollar spiked. You guys can see there was a small position. And again, at 3 o'clock this morning, this position pulled back down. I mentioned it with Nadex. Again, this area has been hit 3 or 4 times. It's not a position we were really looking to short. But again, session open right here provided a trading opportunity and kind of pushed this down. And then 8:30, the same spike, the same base. It didn't quite get to any of the levels we were looking for, which, what happens? It bounced off a little tiny area here. Again, you're not going to catch all of them. So, we're looking for this one to rally a bit more. And again, all it's done is done a parabolic move, found a base, and then collapsed back down. And we're in the same spot. It kind of came all the way back down. In 24 hours, Euro pound has only moved 15 pips. So you would assume that nothing really happened. But yet inside of this range, we had 56 pips up. And then again, even more than that. If here's the 8 o'clock candle, and then the 10 o'clock candle brings us down to here. Yeah, like 60 pips, right? This is the 9:30 candle. If we measure 9 o'clock to 11, let's see, 9 o'clock up top, the 11 candle down here, 64 pips. So again, a lot of movement and reversal play in that one. Again, if you understand these strategies, kind of the same thing. Right now, fortunately, not a lot, but kind of the same thing I told you tomorrow morning. I expect this one to be a big mover. Again, maybe potentially. I feel like at 6 p.m. tonight, I feel like the binaries are going to have a little bit too much risk in them, a little bit too much premium because CPI is a big deal. The call spreads tend to have a little bit less. I would be cautious with knockouts tonight. If you are trading this tomorrow morning, like if you're one of the night owls, right, or you're staying up late because you're West Coast because this is 11 o'clock at night, the release, you can go over and look at call spreads. If we are near a floor or a ceiling before the news release, again, that would help you take a smaller risk. You will have exposure to kind of a whipsaw effect, right? Like a quick sudden spike up, spike down, right? That may be where you look at binaries. But again, I don't know where it's going to be. I don't have the crystal ball. It's just it's an if this then that, right? Go look to see where we are, see if there's a knockout in close proximity, if it matches up your overall kind of theory. Me personally, my opinion, and again, this is not a trade recommendation, I do feel that tomorrow's news will be positive for the pound. Kind of see what we have with it, all right? Dollar CAD. Dollar CAD did exactly what all the other ones said. 8:30, look at this. 8:30, it collapsed. It based in one candle. And then 9:30, U.S. trader stepped in and went off to the races. All these people are like, no, got to go short. Got to go short. Boom, and now it's right back to where it was. So dollar CAD has moved minus 3 pips in 24 hours. Blockbuster news, and it was 50 pips down, and then literally the single candle back up again at 9:30 was 50 pips back up again. So I would tell you to go check some of the shorter duration contracts. This one has a larger strike width in my eyes. It doesn't deserve it, but a little bit harder to play. Typically, when you're trading U.S.-based news, you don't play it in dollar CAD. You typically will play it with euro dollar, pound dollar, because they have the smaller spreads. They're traded more. They're more liquid. But kind of the same setup on this one. I would say as far as levels go, we do have the Canadian news tomorrow. Watch it ahead of time. It is going to kind of conflict with the Empire State Manufacturing. But again, depending on where we have pushed, if we have pushed higher, I actually don't mind that if it comes back up. So if we can get up to this level at 127.15 before the release tomorrow, this number right now is showing 0.1. If it comes in at 0.2 or 0.3 or 0.4, that's considered higher than expected. That should lead to Canadian strength. Canadian strength in this pair literally takes this, and again, news release time tomorrow morning would be 8:30. Let's see. It would be over here, right? Yeah, 8:30 would be here. That should lead us, and again, if we can push up to there, that should lead us right down. Okay, because again, Canadian strength higher expected. That's how it moves. All right. Dollar Swiss. So dollar Swiss has been something, and again, we had that one turn, and it really didn't do much, and it just kind of dropped. And I would say this is more dollar weakness based. The problem I have right now is if I'm looking at two strong levels, 92.46 and 91.40, top and bottom of those two levels, we're literally gliding right down the middle right now. This is an old area of interest right here, and we've kind of pushed through, poked up, and we're kind of basing and having a hard time with it. The Swiss is a little insulated. Again, if you're playing purely dollar, the Swiss has some great setups, and I know I pick on it and beat up on it sometimes. It does have some very clean entries. Is it always the best? Is it the most consistent? Does it give us the most opportunity? Not so much, but it does have some really great opportunities if you follow it. If you guys are using technology, don't forget, set your alerts on this one. It's a great one to be able to trade top to bottom. Just make sure you kind of, again, you got to catch it when it's there. It's just not quite there right now. And then Euro Yen. Again, are you guys surprised that this one rolled over at this point? Drop down. Again, this was unable to base, again, because of the yen right now. Kind of the same thinking. I'm looking for these, any shorts that were in this. I was looking for this to come down to 109.47. Up top, again, a level that was tested. Oops, I didn't want to move that. I was looking for this line right here. I'm looking for the 110.40. So a little bit more space. And again, after all this bad news today, I think we will get some type of a reversal. What is it saying this is? Oh, heating oil and stuff like that. Yeah. So we'll look for the reversal at some point, but I think 109.47 is probably the way to play that one. All right, going across to our favorite, our commodities. So oil so far has been like, And again, the reason why supply and demand driven, I would say that, again, the European session opened here and closed here. Is that really crazy movement? No. And it kind of drove down and then immediately retraced back up again. And then right now, if you had to pick a direction, you could say that it's basically down. So it's down, it reset, and then it is down. Does it make sense? Sure. Yeah, I mean, inflation being lower means that the economy is not in the greatest supply area. Don't forget, we have crude oil inventory reports tomorrow. The API number comes out later on this evening. We'll see what that one is. I don't think, let me see, do we have, let me pull this up real quick. I love doing this. Let me bring it across. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Daily effects right now. Looks like oil traders are still confused. It's only 51%, just a little tiny smidgen, 1% or more net short. Again, I think a lot of the concerns have been, again, one, CPI is hurting, but number two, what's happening with the Gulf, right? But if you like oil, and again, we're seeing this negative motion right now, guess what? Retail sales year over year will actually affect the oil. The reason why is because China is a major consumer of oil. Major buyer of oil. They are a big player in oil. So, yeah, that could be a potential for oil. But what I would do is I'd watch API, look to see where we move. I won't be surprised. There's a couple areas of buyers in here and here and here. Here's one that's easy to see. Even if you don't know all the rules on how to draw it, you got to look at that level, and that's coming in at right around $70. I mean, it literally comes right at 70, right? 70.02. So we'll see if it can hold. But again, the numbers today were not beneficial for oil, showing less CPI. Again, that's technically a negative oil piece. Now, with that said, I'm going to flip down. You guys all feel my pain. It's negative, right? Yet natural gas is up 1.9%. It's up 2% today. This is my pain. If any of you listening out there are my propane supplier, stop watching the programs because you know that I have to buy it. Yeah, this is propane right now, or natural gas. If you guys didn't know, propane is a component of natural gas. It's like a byproduct that's left over. Yeah. I'd love to share with this, but again, we're talking like, even just at the beginning of August, it was at $3 and now it's at $5 over here. So yeah, natural gas is off to the races. Don't forget, natural gas inventories are going to be on Thursday, right? So those would come in over here on Thursday. You got to click this so you can see them in there. Natural gas inventories are right here. And look at this. This is what also doesn't make sense. Last time it was like, this is bad for the price. Look, it's bad for the price of oil. They forecasted it's like, oh, it's bad, right? It's bad, right? That means they should go down, right? We had a lot more supply. And what has it been doing? It's been going straight up. So somebody out there, please call my propane guy and tell him to make this cheaper because, yeah, I'm dreading filling this tank. So again, watch natural gas. Natural gas, I am looking for a top though. We do not have a topping pattern yet. It's not one that everybody trades. Watch this one on Thursday. I think there's some good opportunity, especially if we can get a top. Tomorrow we'll foreshadow and kind of give us an idea of what the demand is on oil. Natural gas tends to follow it most days, but watch it. And then last but not least, gold, right? Gold popped through, and again, you guys can, I don't know if you guys can see this. I'll drop it down to like a 5-minute chart here. This purple line, we've been talking about it for a while. This is the magical 1800 number, right? The golden goose. Well, here is the 8:30 news release. Whoops. 8:30 news release right there. And you may say, why the heck did that pop up? Well, it's an inflationary number, right? Inflationary number. Everybody sees red and they see, oh my God, gold, that's it, short, short, short. And then gold went higher and it pulled back. And again, if, oh my God, if it just comes back, I won't do it again. All it did, again, if you looked at the news, you got manipulated today because you saw this. You should have taken it short based off of that red number, like, oh, inflation is bad. But you know why it went higher? Again, one, a lot of people shorting, but two, it was still a positive number. It's still going higher. And what it did is it provided a great opportunity, right? It came back up. You guys can see here. I mean, it literally came up, touched this level that we had right above. 1800 really is what the trigger needed to be. What it did is it came and it dropped, and within, 10 minutes, you hit your 1 to 3 risk to reward ratio trade. It was total movement today of, $10, $9.50 in 10 minutes. Do you think there was probably some opportunity there? Absolutely. Absolutely some great opportunity. And again, now all we're seeing is kind of a top buyer step in. And what is it doing? It's pulling back down to the 1800 figure. Because now the idea of, yeah, maybe inflation is top, maybe we're here, is really kicking in. Now, is there opportunity this week to continue to trade gold? Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. Let me click this one off. Let's click none and let's talk inflation, right? Inflation for the week, right? Is that everybody? No, yeah. I guess it's growth too, but yeah, all the CPI stuff tomorrow, pound, CAD, and then again we have all the growth numbers coming in as well. So, there's a bunch of them in here. The GDP, the core retail sales, all this is inflation based because again, you're seeing inflation, but seeing core retail sales go up. All good things for gold. So what I would say right now for gold today, I would expect this to kind of pull back down again, come back to its level, and you can see. Again, for my channel traders, you can see that this is basically the channel that we've been following. Gold is very, very channel based. I could draw the same piece up here. Look, we did it last week as well. If I take this and I move this across, actually, let me get a fair piece there. You guys see, look at this. The same channeling. Look, top to bottom, same channeling, right? Here's the same channeling, top to bottom. So literally, I've drugged this from here to here. And again, touch and touch. And then I drug it also across to here. And again, touch, touch, touch. And that was where the base was today. So again, it is a very channeling based piece. If we come above, again, it has a new stabilization point. If it comes back to below, and I think it will, depending on what the CPI data is for tomorrow, watch for this to pull back down in silver. If you've been watching silver, here is what I drew yesterday morning for the Nadex broadcast on YouTube. If you don't believe me, go back and watch yesterday's broadcast. We talked about price coming up. Here's where we were yesterday morning. I drew this and literally it painted the candles like it was a connect the dots. Okay. It pulled in, and again, Harry Potter pattern. Drop, pull back, hit it, went to the full profit target. What did it do today? It popped. And again, I'll adjust this forward. You guys can see there. Here's your 1 to 3 off of news. Right, we had a level there, and your 1 to 3 is coming right into that level right there. That's 1 to 3.6. 1 to 3 is right there. Okay, and you can see it went past. So, again, is there opportunity around news trading? The answer is absolutely, guys. Please, guys and girls, please make sure you take advantage of it. I do think that silver will probably pop a little bit more than gold here. I do think that silver makes its way back up to this number up here. This is sitting right at the $24 mark. Right, 24 is kind of like 35,000 is. It's one of those big psychological numbers. I missed it by just one. I was so close, right? By 0.001. 24 is a big figure. I think it does push up. At that point, if it does base sideways, watch out for it. CPI is a big hot button. Go from there. So that's it for today. I'm going to put this up. And again, we typically talk about when we're going to meet next. Don't forget, we will not be doing this breakdown and analysis next week. The next time that we will be on for our weekly analysis and will be September 28th, the end of the month. And again, I'm going to throw this caveat out, right? I think that I would be there for September 28th. Just FYI, remember that Melissa is 36 weeks along. That would put us 2 weeks out, right at that 38-week mark. She could be, delivering anytime. And if so, she'll kill me if I'm doing an Analytics webinar when she's in labor. So just putting it out there. Next week, September 21st, though, don't forget, make sure you get registered. Todd put the link inside of the chat. Get registered. I'll be on from 11 to 12. So if you show up at 12 o'clock next week, it will not be me. It'll be somebody else. And I promise I will be the most exciting, and I'm going to give you the best treat for coming next week. So remember, I'm doing something special. I'm hoping it doesn't come back and bite me in the butt later on, but I think it's going to be really, really cool, and you'll have to listen to the entire presentation to get it. So that's it. With that said, guys, you have a great week. Hopefully, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning for the Natix presentation. If you have any questions about anything I said, support at keeptradingsimple.com. And if not, I will see you guys either on YouTube or I will see you next Tuesday for our Fall Education Summit. You guys take care. Have a good one. Thanks again.